Are you ready?
Power. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
I'm building an alliance.
God bless the internet.
Okay, let's party. It's showtime.
It's time for the Alliance Guys podcast, with your hosts Kevin Frazier, Jaden, DKM, and J. Cal.
Oh, yeah, we're here. We're live. Get the banner down. Get the banner down. Oopsie. There we are. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information. Kind of, maybe. I'm Jay Cal, and with me is my pal, Mr. DKM, as we are here to talk to you about the National Wrestling Alliance. And, of course, that means we're going to talk about the NWA 74th Anniversary pay-per-view that's coming up August 27th and 28th. That means we're going to talk about NWA POWERRR and all things NWA. Welcome to the show, Mr. DKM. How are you doing today, my pal, my friend, my confidant?
Yeah, I'm here.
If you're lying, you're dying. I don't know what that means.
I don't either. I just gotta immediately disagree with Chris Drummond.
Let's put that on the screen so everyone can see what we're saying. Chris Drummond says, God, we need Matt Cardona back ASAP. Corgan keeps announcing all these fossils like Tommy Rich at the 74th.
Well, he's not announcing them for matches.
Yes.
He's just announcing them as, people you can come see, get your title signed by or whatever, get an autograph. Be perfectly honest, Tommy Rich and, for anybody that's followed the NWA, will probably put more asses in a seat than Matt Cardona.
I'll be perfectly honest. Had I known that they were going to go and bring some more of these legends in, I would have been a lot more interested in going to the show live. As you guys know, I do have the 10 pounds of replica that's got championship signatures from some of the greatest NWA world champions in the last 40 years, and Shane Douglas. And, some of those names on there, like Barry Windham. Barry Windham's going to be there. Now, I know Barry Windham didn't hold the 10 pounds of gold, but I still would love to have his signature on that title. And, well, they just announced, like our pal Chris said, Tommy Rich. Well, he certainly held the 10 pounds of gold. Famously beat Harley Race for that belt, if I recall correctly, and more or less ignited the whole Georgia Championship Wrestling territory there for a while. Right, DK? Back me up on this one.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, Tommy Rich was the hot young sensation that was driving after the belt, and they kind of learned a lesson from Jerry Lawler and decided to put him on. Chris, stop that. I mean, if you want to like Cardona, that's fine. Let's not go over the top here. Lawler kind of did the chase to the point where he no longer believed he was ever going to win the title, and then they had to create their own world title and look like a license plate made by some inmate somewhere. And everybody knew it wasn't a real world championship and all that. So they decided, hey, let's put the belt on Rich for, it was 4 days, so it was a Monday through Friday. Let's put the title on him, and then that makes it seem more likely that he'll win the title again in the future. And he might have if he had kept himself a little bit cleaned up.
Yeah. So I see a couple of people have been asking. Chris did say, did the savior of the NWA sign it? Yes, Adam Pearce did sign that belt. Yes, he did. I also have Ric Flair's signature on that belt, as well as AJ Styles, Colt Boom Boom Cabana, Jack Stane, Tim Storm. I mean, you can make an argument Tim Storm was the savior of the NWA. Dan Severn, Ken Shamrock, like the aforementioned Shane Douglas, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Jeff Jarrett, Dory Funk Jr. I'm sure I'm forgetting some. Raven. Yeah, Raven signed it in a very unique way. Satoshi Kojima. Of
AJ
course.
Styles, did you mention him?
Yeah, I did mention Styles. Nick Aldis signed it before he blocked me on Twitter. Trevor Murdoch signed that belt, but no, I haven't. I wasn't there when Matt Cardona won the belt. So when I had the title, oh, excuse me, I take that back. No, he was there defending it, but I didn't have an opportunity to see him after he defended against Nick Aldis. But I did get Trevor to sign it at that show. So I mean, look, it's look, and Doty points out Ricky and Dory never wore those 10 pounds of gold. Absolutely right. You're 100% right, Doty. And I didn't think about that at the time. My big thing was like, hey, these are the champions that are still alive. I should have not had them sign that belt. but I should have had them sign a different title, I think. I don't know. Anyways, I had Dave Marquez sign it. I was going to ask Dave Lagana, but the next time I saw him, yeah. Anyways, Willie says that Billy Corgan should bring in Adam Pearce and Dan Severn and Sting. Of those choices, and Doty agrees with you, Willie, Dan Severn would be a good fit because he's not signed anywhere. But Adam Pearce is currently an employee of the World Wrestling Entertainment and with Sting under contract with AEW. I don't think you're going to see either one of those gentlemen back in an NWA ring anytime soon. Obviously, things are always fluid. Things could change in a heartbeat. I mean, going back to that whole fiasco, the Ric Flair final show, everyone's sleeping on the fact that Jeff Jarrett was, he wrestled for Game Changer Wrestling for a few months. He went over and Effie put him over, and he was supposed to return the favor. And then he came to the NWA as a referee and officiated that title match between Cardona and Aldis. Then was hired by the WWE and systematically retired from in-ring competition. And then did the Flair show, which was basically produced by a combination of the Conrad Thompson, podcast empire with Impact Wrestling, and Jarrett wrestled another match there. So it's kind of funny that Jarrett was able to do all of that in such a short amount of time. The look on your face, Mr. DKM, says it all.
Oh, I'm just looking at James H. Jackson. He goes, so long as we give Tony Khan triple credit, maybe we can get Sting. There's probably some truth to that. So, yeah.
Well, and again, look at all the talent that Tony Khan allowed to appear on that event. The Ring of Honor guys that were there, like the Briscoes, and, again, the AEW talent of Black Machismo. Why can't I think of his name right off the top of my head? Jay Lethal.
I was going to say, I don't know why you can't think Jay Lethal, but
and of course Andrade were both there on that show. So yeah. Oh, hey, our pal Tim's here. There's a lot of our pals here tonight, but Tim says like and share to help them grow, gang. Yeah, that'd be great. Like we did hit 1,000 guys, and I cannot thank you enough for your support of this podcast. Guys like Willie, Chris, James, Doty. I mean, pretty much everyone who's here right now. You guys are always here, and I do appreciate you. Really do. But we'd love to grow this channel. We'd like to see, maybe we become more influential in the NWA as a common voice, a voice of discord. We don't always love what the NWA does. And as long as we come off as respectfully, and at least we're fans, we pay to watch the show, even if we don't always enjoy the show. I think if we voice our opinion, we could be a more influential group the more we grow. What do you think about that? Do you think they listen to this, DK? Do you think there's ever anyone going, hey, those guys are making some good points over there?
I don't know if they ever say those guys are making good points. I mean, I do think there are people that probably keep up with a little bit of what we're saying just as a, what are the criticisms that are out there. And we'll actually talk a little bit about that. I do think sometimes, maybe not specifically directly at us, maybe so, that I think that's where sometimes some Billy's FUs or some of the things that he just does in general, like with Mae Valentine loving Tyrus all of a sudden. I think a little bit about this. If you'll excuse me, I'm going to shut this shade behind me since
I was going to suggest it because you kind of disappear, but Matthew Underwood.
Better for the people who are watching.
Matthew Underwood says Ric Flair's last match felt like an NWA show, but not a Lightning One show, which is very telling. And I have to agree. It's interesting how they were able to get those They built the sets to kind of resemble the whole Jim Crockett Promotions, like the Saturday night's main event that they used to not main event, Saturday night
World Championship Wrestling.
Yeah, okay, there you go. That they used to do on TBS, how they were able to make those sets. And look, and I know that's just a money thing, right? That's just somebody paying someone to put those together. That's not like the sets that were from the old Turner Broadcasting Studios. That was somebody said, hey, this would be kind of cool, and spent some money, made it look nice. Anyway,
and supposedly some of the matches were good. I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't watch the show. There were some matches I was interested in, but I just couldn't bring myself to support it.
Well, I listened to Jay Lethal on Wednesday. He was on the Busted Open radio show, and he started talking about how that all came to fruition. And it's a great story, and I highly recommend if you guys go listen to that episode of, like, you can listen to it on podcast form. When Jay Lethal talks about how he developed this relationship with Ric Flair, somebody that he's looked up to his entire career, that I didn't know. He was a fan of Ric Flair growing up, and that kind of, Ric Flair just first wanted to just hang out. And that was, why wouldn't you want to hang out with the Nature Boy Ric Flair? And I guess Jay Lethal has a training facility, so they would just hang out and do some grappling, some bumps in the ring, and it was nothing big. But, of course, all this turned into something else. It's a great little interview. If you guys want to listen to it, I think it's pretty good.
Well, and I think one of the shames to the show, though, I mean, everybody said that Flair did not look good in it.
No.
And, of course, to add to things, the story is he had an injured foot going in. So, they're talking about how bad his chops were, and like somebody was saying, they go, well, with an injured foot, with a chop, you use both your feet, one to brace, one to lean into, and they go, that would have an effect on those chops and stuff like that. So even a 100% healthy Ric Flair wouldn't have been all that good, but then to be injured and as well, I mean, I just don't think it worked. It ended more or less the way I figured it would, with Flair and having Jarrett in the figure 4 or whoever he had.
Well, I just think look, hopefully it is the send off, and like we've talked about this at length. I personally think that some sort of Jim Crockett promotion should live on, even if it's just an offshoot of these StarCast events. If it's just a show once a year. Because obviously there is some nostalgia connected to it that honestly the NWA hasn't tapped into, it just boggles the mind that, hey, Billy, did you see what they just did? They outdid your NWA tenfold. They made a show more NWA without using those 3 letters than you have in the last 4 years.
Pretty true.
But anyways, so let's talk a little bit about this women's invitational tournament, the Burke tournament, as we get closer to the 74th anniversary show. Some of the names are starting to be announced, and again, this is on night number 1, where the winner of this, I don't want to say tournament, I guess it's a battle royal, which so last year the Burke Invitational was a battle royal, right? But then they're also doing a battle royal for the tag team titles. Are they going to do a battle royal on both nights of night 1?
I don't know. I want to say the Burke Invitational was kind of a Royal Rumble.
Okay, that's fair. But still,
I'm not even sure I'm remembering correctly. So anybody out there that remembers correctly, please correct me if I'm wrong. But I think it was done as a Royal Rumble type thing. So I think that Tootie Lynn kind of propped up near the end, which gave
you were right. It was more of like a Royal Rumble style entrance, but that begs the question: it's still an over the top rope elimination or pin, submission, whatever. And if they're are they still going to have two matches that are similar, like that similar?
I don't know, because I still don't understand what they're doing in the tag team thing, but we'll discuss that later.
Yeah, well, real quick. So the U.S. tag team, this is the flyer that they used for it. Real quick, one of the entrants were, okay, so it would be a night 2 for the tag team tournament. So, okay, at least the Battle Royal wouldn't be a 2-night affair. So going back to the women's, there wouldn't be 2 Battle Royals on the same night, or 2 over-the-top rope elimination style matches. I guess that would be the best way to say it. But so going back to the Burke Invitational, we have 3 names listed already, and I wasn't able to do my homework yet on Samantha Starr. I know Dodie, who was in the chat on the pre-party chat, mentioned that she spent some time in the Mid-Atlantic area. I still need to do some more research on her, but I know that Dodie was very familiar with her.
It's Baby Doll's daughter.
Oh, is she?
I'm 90% sure. I don't know who the father is, if it's Sam Houston or somebody else, but I'm thinking I think that's why Baby Doll's with her.
I mean, that would make a lot of sense, wouldn't it? So now you piqued my interest. So now live, I'm gonna look. Samantha Starr. Of course, she didn't come up, or maybe I didn't spell her name right. Samantha Starr. There it is. From Lubbock, Texas. Competes in RWA and XWW and the T-Mart promotion. She was there last year at the T-Mart promotions at the Gathering. She defeated Shallon Royce. Mostly wrestles in the Mid-Atlantic area. All points from North Carolina to Georgia to Pennsylvania, New Jersey, West Virginia, South Carolina. She's done some matches in Oklahoma. Yeah. Okay. Well, still, I still want to do a little bit more research on who she is and where she comes from and who her family is. It doesn't list who her family members are on Cage Match, but if anyone knows, feel free to let us know. Chris Drummond does say that Samantha Starr is Baby Doll's kid. James H. Jackson backs that up. Willie Bowen does ask, is Sam Houston her father?
Baby Doll had 2 daughters by Houston, which would make me think probably.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know for sure. I just know that they had 2 girls.
All right. Tim pointed out, or Tim suggests real quick. I'm gonna pull the banner down. I need someone to do the mouse while I'm talking. Tim suggests for the Burke Invitational that he doesn't mind the Rumble style Battle Royal, but would have the last 2 women wrestle a match to the finish. That would be better. I kind of think that's what it is. It was only a year ago, but it just seems like such a much longer time. That Burke, I think the final 2 combatants have to pin or submit to win the Invitational, I think. And then Dodie says that last year they did use the Gauntlet Royal Rumble they used for the Burke Invitational. So yeah, okay, well,
she's a 3rd generation pro wrestler.
Okay. So that would make sense if it was Sam Houston was her dad then.
Yeah, I really don't know enough about Nicola Roberts to know who her family was.
Well, okay. Anyways, so Samantha Starr's in the Rumble. And then, of course, I believe they announced both of these today. Kylan King, of course, she's going to be in the Battle Royal. She's been damn near top of the roster since rejoining the NWA. She labeled herself the gatekeeper to Camille, although she lost to Taya Valkyrie and thus negated her gatekeeping ability. But This match almost seems like it's built for Kylan King to win in order to get another opportunity at Camille on the following night. DK, what do you think about Kylan King being in the Battle Royal, or the Invitational?
I mean, it makes sense. She is someone that's they've built up and you would put in there in the league as somebody who might be able to seriously challenge Camille for the titles. So, and since Camille is defending the title 2 nights in a row, it would be an interesting dynamic. Of course, that assumes that she gets past Tyra Valkyrie, but I'm assuming she will.
Wouldn't that be? And I know we're not talking about that right now, but wouldn't that be a big shakeup if Tyra Valkyrie won the women's title? Like,
I think it'd be an unexpected shakeup, which would probably be. And Valkyrie's plenty talented. I mean, I certainly would have no problem with her as champion. But as long as they didn't do something weird, like change the title both nights.
Yeah. Well, that would be weird.
Or something WWE-ish where Camille wins earlier in the night or loses early in the night, and then whoever the loser is ends up in the Invitational and wins it for a rematch the next. I don't want to see something like that, but
yeah. Well, so real quick, I put up a poll. You guys feel free to vote on it. Let's see what you think. Who is going to walk away as women's champion on night 1? Do you think it's going to be Camille, or do you think it's going to be Taya? And as of right now, with only 5 votes in it, it's running away as Camille. But keep voting. We'll leave the poll open for the most of the show. We'll talk about it at the end of the night to see who you think will be women's champion at the end of the night. But yeah, so more on Samantha Starr. James H. Jackson says Samantha Starr is a 3rd generation pro wrestler, and it is in her blood to be a great at the sport. The legends that flow in her bloodline are Nicola Roberts, Jake the Snake Roberts, Rockin' Robin, Grizzly Smith, and Sam Houston, which he said he got that from an article. So there you go. You were right, DK. She is the daughter of Sam Houston, and of course the Roberts, that Robert lineage, and
Nicola Roberts is also, her parents were both wrestlers, promoters.
Oh wow, okay, so there you go.
So she's got it from all sides.
No kidding, right? So she's in the tournament, of course, or the Invitational, I should say. We also pointed out that Kylan King will be in there, and then also announced today is Tootie Lynn, who makes her return to St. Louis. Of course, that's where she made her debut with the NWA, was in St. Louis, and really did get the crowd behind her when she was in St. Louis. Just momentarily teamed with Kylie Ray as the Smiling Dragons. Doesn't look like Kylie Ray is anywhere near this NWA roster today. But what do you think about Tootie Lynn in the Rumble, in the Invitational, I should say? And what do you think her chances are?
I think her chances are 0. And I think if they hadn't killed her by basically beating her all but one time last time she was in the NWA, I'd give it a more serious thing. You can't have somebody lose all their matches again, except for I think one. I think she won once. And then expect me to be excited because, they're going to be in this thing. I don't care what sports entertainment teaches you. In wrestling, wins and losses matter.
Yeah. And 50-50 booking doesn't make sense. And James says, wait, DK, she has 2 chances. Slim and none. Nicely done.
Yeah, and Slim got on a bus and headed out of town.
Some more comments earlier, too. I want to just point out a few things. Our pal, What Would Lou Thez Do? Hope your belt gets to you soon, Lou. Lou says, I hope they have an ace up their sleeve because the tickets are not moving like last year. 0 local promotion that he's seen. And Lou is a St. Louis, resident, I believe. And, him and Hustler are out there waiting to see some more promotion. So someone should give Hustler a banner and have him wave the race at the Chase banner. I'm sure that'll drum up some business. But yeah, that's not a good sign. Last year they had that whole press conference about bringing wrestling back to the Chase, and they made it seem like a big deal because they treated it like a big deal. Now the expectation, at least from what you're saying, Lou, if they're not promoting 3 weeks out, if they're not banners and signs hanging up places or morning talk shows that have Trevor Murdoch, doing his best Harley Race impression on, then I don't know what they're going to do, because that was a hard sell for the pay-per-view last year. Of course, there was a lot of momentum behind Nick Aldis and Trevor Murdoch for that pay-per-view, but the big draw was returning to the Chase. Well, they've been there, done that. If they're not really plugging that again, if they're not really promoting this, man, that's going to be disastrous.
Yeah, I tell you, they have some big plan, but I don't believe it in any way, shape, or form.
What's that? What do you think?
Oh, I'm saying I don't believe that they have any big plan.
Oh, Sean Vega said something that I think a lot of us are feeling right now, is I have no interest in the current NWA, to be honest. Look, I'm not going to say that there are some things that I'm very intrigued about in the NWA. There's some things that I'm even excited about, but it's getting harder and harder to justify, watching the show every week. I was telling DKM offline, look, if we weren't doing this podcast, don't know that I would be watching. Last night was the first time in a very, very long time I had the opportunity to watch All Elite Wrestling. And regardless of what style of wrestling you like, you turn on AEW and you're going to see some wrestling, and most of it is pretty good wrestling, and it's very polished, and it's very clean, and it's appealing to the eyes. It looks good. It sounds good. And sometimes you watch the NWA and you're feeling like you're watching Amateur Hour. Sorry, guys. When you've got, Joe Galley saying the wrong match and they don't bother to edit that out. You have the promos that are nonsensical or go nowhere. You listen to AEW, and maybe Jungle Boy doesn't cut the most coherent promo, but at least you know what he's talking about. And he has direction. He wants to go fight Christian Cage because Christian's an a-hole. I sat there and listened to Mae Valentine interview Colby Carino, and I don't even know what the hell they were talking about.
Oh my gosh. Was that a horrible, horrible thing?
Dave Scooby says, Billy
I
has
just
been
looked
doing...
at the,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, DK.
I was saying I just looked at the seat maps for the 2 nights, and no, it's not looking good. They're certainly not 50 at even 50% sold yet. There.
And look, they are 3 weeks out, and the entire cards haven't been announced yet. And, I'm sure there will be some sort of big push. Matt Cardona has mentioned there's some sort of announcement that's going to be made soon. Hopefully it's something about him and Nick Aldis wrestling. I'm sure that's at least on the table. That's an option. But is that going to draw enough people to come to St. Louis?
Well, I mean, it depends on if they put together something interesting, then I think you could make an argument it will spur ticket sales. But what is it and what night do you put it on?
Yeah.
I mean, because I can tell you right now, I'm not really interested in the main event of Murdoch versus Tyrus.
I kind of am. Is that
well?
Weird?
I mean, I'm interested only in the sense that it's new.
Yeah. Well, that's just it.
But it's kind of like Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. Although that one was done to death, you're kind of like going, I basically know how it's going to go. And this is another one that's kind of like, hey, it's something new. Tyrus can look good in spurts, but how long can you really go? How long would you want it to go?
That's a good point.
And how do you get both guys to look good at the end of it? That's always the trick.
The thing too, and I don't know if everyone in this audience knows, but they're related. They're like second cousins. And I feel like if there's anyone that's going to pull a good match out of Tyrus, it's going to be his cousin, right? I think if anyone's going to pull a good match out of Tyrus, it's going to be Trevor Murdoch, a guy who is not outsized. I mean, yeah, Tyrus is bigger than him, but like when we get into Power, we talk about how big Tyrus was compared to Odinson. Who Odinson is one of the bigger guys on the roster. I mean, he's not the 6'4" big dude on the roster, but he's not a small guy by any stretch of the imagination. But you put him next to Tyrus and he shrinks, and that's not saying that that Odinson is a small guy by any stretch of the imagination. It's just saying that Tyrus is a really big dude. Like, he's a really big guy. But you put him next to Trevor Murdoch, and he's still a big guy, but he's not quite as visually. He's not that much bigger than Trevor Murdoch. And so the kind of match that they're going to have, it's not going to be just Tyrus throwing around Trevor Murdoch, because honestly, I don't think he can. Trevor's not a small guy. So in that aspect of it, because they're related, because they both want to see each other look good, I'm sure, I don't think either one of them is going to, RF the other guy. I think they're going to try their best to have a really good match. In that case, like, if they can pull off a good match, if we see Tyrus have a good match, some of us might have to eat a little bit of crow. Of course, that might not happen either. That it might be completely awful.
Well, Tyrus versus Murdoch, Aldous versus Murdoch. I'll take Tyrus.
Yeah.
Which would be the better match? Probably the oldest one, but I'm tired of it. And if you can bring in a Aldous versus Cardona match, because Billy loves heel versus heel dynamic, because he smokes too much crack, and that would be interesting. Do I think sales will ultimately be okay? Probably. I think probably by the time you get to show night, they'll be okay. But, whereas last time they were sold out basically the week before, 2 weeks before on night 2, basically the week before on night 1. And that was with having TV tapings for 3 days after.
There was also the dynamic too that we have to keep in mind, is that we were coming out of, even though we're still very much dealing with COVID and it's still a pandemic is still around, we were coming off of literally not having fans in attendance at wrestling shows. To now all of a sudden all these wrestling shows were popping up. And even at the last pay-per-view the NWA had at the Georgia Public Broadcasting Studios, at the last minute they were told that they couldn't have as many people as they thought they were going to have, as many tickets as they sold. So when they did go to the Chase, it was kind of a big deal for not only for a myriad of reasons, the least of which is people could actually be there live. It was the return of something like historic, which was wrestling at the Chase. And, at the time it was a hot feud between Aldous and Trevor Murdoch. And none of these three things are still relevant. Yes, it's still historic, but they did it last year. Yes, we're still going through COVID, but you can go do anything you could before now. Pretty much COVID restrictions are gone. And there's the feud that's supposed to draw you to this show is not really there, because, again, they just announced it with no real build on television. So, you don't hear Tyrus promos on Trevor Murdoch. You don't hear Trevor Murdoch promos on Tyrus. And as we'll talk about the show later, like, you didn't even hear, there's no mention of the match. Trevor just said, yeah, I'm going to be at the 74th, the world champion, but didn't say who his opponent's going to be, didn't say anything about Tyrus. And again, there was no build from Tyrus about who he's facing at the 74th.
Yeah, it's really, again, there's their taping schedule versus what they do, how they handle it. There's no talk, there's no build, there's their show doesn't do what their show's supposed to do.
Yeah.
The show should be putting over the pay-per-view and the idea of what we're going to be seeing and watching and, getting to. And the matches should be leading to that. But it's kind of, they do it in a small extent, but in a lot of the major things, they don't.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I can't say I'm particularly impressed with how they're handling this pay-per-view. I mean, they do have more matches announced than they normally do, but they don't have anything out there that's just like, oh my God, I want to see that.
Yo, for sure.
And the question is, I don't know if there's anything they can put together that's, oh my God, I want to see that.
Real quick, the first Tyrus joke of the night is not from Willie Bowen, but from our pal Lou Thez, and he says, Tyrus already ate all the crow, which is fantastic. Nicely done, Lou. You beat Willie to the punch on that one. Doty brings up the fact that they just released the newest Wrestling at the Chase documentary a while ago, and the NWA missed an opportunity while not collaborating with them to hype their upcoming Chase show. And, I have to agree with that. I mean, there's ways that they could have presented that. They could have partnered with them. But, of course, maybe they weren't invited. And that's the thing that a lot of people –
I was going to say that would apply that they knew anything was being done.
Yeah.
I mean, remember, most of these independent things, History of the Chase or whatever, those are either wrestling historians or the TV station or whatever, or the Chase Hotel, or whatever, her putting these things together, and it's not clicking in their mind that, oh, we need to go out and find whatever the modern day NWA is and get them involved in this. And so, while I agree that yes, it would have been a nice hookup, let's remember, we're a small group. And the average person doesn't think about us.
Yeah.
Or, think about NWA wrestling.
Well, and just like the Ric Flair show, I've heard a lot of people say, well, why wasn't the NWA involved? Look, guys, the pure, simple reason why they weren't involved is because they weren't asked to be involved. Or the price tag was too high to have them involved. And
and they didn't need it.
No.
I mean, that's what I said, when people were talking about what's his name being put over as an MLW wrestler, even though he hasn't wrestled in MLW for a couple of years, Harry Smith, I go, yeah, but I mean, I think in their mind, they go, more people will know Harry Smith from MLW than they will from the NWA, whether he's the current tag champion or not.
I mean, that's an excellent point. I think, especially with a talent like Harry Smith, I don't think the MLW even plays into a factor. He's a former WWE Tag Team Champion. And if that's not enough, he wrestled in New Japan for quite a long time. So, I mean, he made his name long before MLW or the National Wrestling Alliance.
But he was put in with an MLW guy.
Yeah. And
so that's how they tie that together. Two MLW stars, facing each other.
James H. Jackson says, when it came out, the NWA account and some wrestlers should have promoted that PBS documentary. Then a few days later, have a Return to the Chase follow-up with a 10 Pounds of Gold style 30-minute show. I mean, 100%, James. 100%. I feel like, especially with Billy Corgan, I think he's looking beyond what's right in front of him. And I guess that's easy to do because a lot of people are saying, hey, Billy, you need to take the NWA on the road. Hey, Billy, you need to do more live events. Hey, Billy, you need to make more titles. And I think he sees all this and is the incentive to push forward without really, bringing the cart along with him. Because, again, this pay-per-view is the most important pay-per-view until the next pay-per-view. And every pay-per-view for the NWA at this point is the next one is the most important one because, one bad showing, one bad outing, and you could lose a subscriber and be done. And I feel like they haven't built the accountability yet, the credibility yet to withstand that. And if this pay-per-view goes out and bombs, and they don't have 800 people in that building for the pay-per-view, and it looks really empty, I mean, that's going to seriously hurt their image and the promotion.
Yeah, and let's get something else straight. Now Billy was out there talking about how now people, the TV things are more interested in wrestling, and be easier to get a TV deal. I mean, basically, even Tony Khan has been acknowledging that he's struggling to get a TV thing for ROH.
Yeah.
And that, whatever his Friday night show is, Rampage or
right. Rampage.
That, its ratings have plummeted. And, they're not getting what they want from it. And, then he has 2 or 3 shows on YouTube, and he's supposedly looking at maybe another one. They say he's filing something for trademarks for like a women's type show or something like that.
Do you think the amount of content that he's giving away on YouTube is impacting his numbers on cable?
Yes and no. If you want to see the stars, you have to be on the cable show.
Sure.
But if I'm just watching, I think there's just too much content.
For all across the board?
All across the board. And I think, look, right now I can record on my TV. I can record Raw on Monday, NXT on Tuesday, AEW on Wednesday, Impact on Thursday, SmackDown on Friday, and Rampage on Friday. So just looking at 3 promotions, there's 6 different shows that total up to 3, 5, 7, 10 hours of wrestling content in 1 week. 8 of them from just 2 promotions.
And that doesn't even count and some people are out there watching New Japan Strong on Fight on Fight. Some people are watching the NWA on Fight. Some people are watching Championship Wrestling from Hollywood on YouTube or Fight. NWA also on YouTube, and that's an hour and a half and an hour here and an hour there. I mean, literally, there's about 20 hours of weekly wrestling programming, and that's not international stuff, and that's not everything even national. I mean, there's a lot of regional programming that's also available out there, and then you've got Women of Wrestling coming soon, and it doesn't stop.
Look, I work a business job, so I'm tied up Monday through Friday, typically 7 to 7. Or 6 to 7. By the time I get up and I go out and I do my work and I come home and I eat my meal and I'm relaxing or whatever. And I have lots of interest. I watch wrestling. I watch boxing. I watch MMA. Football season's getting ready to kick up. I'm a bigger football fan than I am a wrestling fan. I watch college. I watch pro. I've been watching amateur wrestling because they had the World Championships for the U17 in Rome. Go Team USA. They got a gold medal in Greco-Roman, I believe 2 gold medals in freestyle, and a few silver medals and bronze on the women's freestyle. They got other medals too, but it was it was a good year for them. You know, I'm really into that. I really enjoy watching those things. So outside of sports, people who know me know I like food. I like to cook. I like keeping up with international news. I follow stuff. I like royalty. I own a website about it. Don't run the website, but I own it. And you know, I have a lot in my life. I have two kids. They're both adults, but they live at home. You know, I do things with them. There's a lot in my life. I don't have 10 hours to devote to sitting down and watching wrestling, which is what this is all getting at. You better put out a good product for me.
Yeah.
And I've made it clear when it comes to WWF and AEW that I record them. I listen to reviews of them the next day on the Wrestle Talk podcast on YouTube. And then based on those reviews, I may or may go back and watch them. Or some nights, like Monday night, I watched the first hour of Raw just because I was interested. And then I, went to my room and watched a movie and listened to the review. And I only went back and watched one other segment. And that's it. I didn't watch the rest of Raw.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see Ciampa versus Styles. And although I will say, since this can be relevant to the NWA, since Vince has gone, the commentary is much better. You can tell there's not somebody screaming in their ears telling them what to say. And so learn a lesson, NWA, better commentary.
Well, and the point that I hear you trying to make, and again, like I said, last night I watched AEW for the first time in a very, very long time. And that's because I was in a hotel room that had TBS because we don't have cable in the house. So it was kind of a treat for me. But at the same time, like I sat there trying to watch it and do the little bit of work I had to do before I went to bed. And, I gave it about 85% of my attention, and it wasn't bad. And when I watch a show like that and I see how just the little things, the commentary was clean, the audio was clean, the reaction from the fans was vibrant. And sometimes that makes the storytelling even easier. And the aesthetic, like I'll be honest, when we get to Power and we talk about when the Ill-Begotten come out and there's zero reaction, right? And then when you get the Miserably Faithful out and there's just a clamoring of boos, like nobody seems into the show. And that's got to be something that, do they not see this? That the fans are not invested in the program? Because again, like, I don't care if there's only 200 people there or 150 people there or hell, 75 people there. But if you have 75 engaged fans who want to be there and are supporting the product, the output looks so much better. And if you're telling me that the best you can do is that, that 150 people in that audience who didn't seem to care about much of anything, that's the best you're doing, then maybe it's time to close up shop, honestly.
You think?
And that's not what I don't want them to do that. I don't want them to close down. I just want them to get better. Now we'll talk about the show, and it was funny because DK, after I watched it, DK and I were messaging each other, and he said to me, "Well, what'd you think?" And I said, "It wasn't bad." And I sat there and I reflected on that for a minute. And I said, how shitty is that the measuring stick is, well, it's either bad or it wasn't bad. Like, I don't remember what a good episode looks like. It's either the show was awful or the show wasn't so bad. That's not great for your audience. And I want to like this show. I want to be a fan. And there were some things I thought they did really well. And the fact that they replayed the women's match as a bonus at the end, I thought that was a smart move because it was a very good match. It was a good match on the pay-per-view. It was a good match on, the replay. But I still just, I don't know.
It's not anything that it is not the definition of must-see TV. Let's say that.
And honestly, again, I do love the fact that you guys watch that show and you're here hanging out, talking about it with us. But let's be honest, if this podcast didn't exist for any of you, would you still want to watch the show? I love the community we have here. I love the forum we have here. I would still probably watch the show, but there'd be some days I would just skip it or not, or watch it while I'm doing other things.
Well, I would probably, like I said last week, the pay-per-views are normally good, so I'd probably have the subscription just for the pay-per-views.
Yeah.
And then, but how close would I actually watch the shows? Probably not very close. So let's just say that. You want to talk about the tag team battle royal, or do we care?
Yeah, let's talk about that. Sorry, work message. I'm never off the clock, guys, so sometimes I have to do work stuff, so I apologize. Okay, and of course, a lot more names will be announced for the Burke Invitational. We'll talk about that leading up to the Crockett Cup. I'm hoping to see some more names. I'm not disappointed with who's been invited to be a part of the Burke, but there are a lot more women out there who I hope will be a part of this one as well. But now we go to talking about the United States Tag Team Championship, and as we mentioned on the pre-party, there's no better way to determine tag team champions than having a battle royal, because that's how you decide, who the best two people will be for any kind of title. Is the fact that they were heavy enough or fast enough or strong enough to avoid being thrown over the top rope. I hate the idea that this is a battle royal for tag titles. I know they used that for the wild card for the Crockett Cup, which I was okay with that. I know that
that's one thing to get a position in a tournament.
Yeah.
Now, Jay, I don't know if you know or not, and I don't know if our beloved public out there know or not, because honestly, I haven't done a lot of research on this. I just saw the announcement. Now, have they said how this battle royal is going? I mean, is it just a battle royal and are teams eliminated, or just individuals eliminated if somebody gets thrown over? Is it till the bitter end and there's only one person left, and whoever they are and their partner are the champions? When you get down to a final two, does it become a tag team match? Do we know anything?
And I'll just stall here while anyone who's in the chat, feel free to jump in, because again, this is kind of unknown information to DK and myself. I know that the rules that they used for the Crockett Cup in 2019, that battle royal to set up the wild card into the tournament, was basically that each team was considered like one individual. So if one person from the tag team was eliminated, then they were both out. And I could see them doing that in this battle royal as well. But that's where I'm at.
See, let's see, Doty, 10-team battle royal. Is there any wrestling match with 10 teams in the ring for? That's 20 people, so I mean it's not unheard of. Now, where you find 10 tag teams, I'm not 100% sure. What kind of tag teams you use, I'm not 100% sure. So maybe the Heat Seekers will be back.
Well, I mean, we have seen some of the teams from the Crockett Cup already announced for it, but yeah.
So, I mean, we'll see. So who are the teams that are announced so far?
Well,
3. Do we have 3 teams or 4?
Yeah, there's 3 teams that they've announced so far. Of course, we knew on Monday that the ill-begotten with Danny Deals would be the first entrant team into this United States Tag Team Championship Battle Royal. The next team from the Crockett Cup, we haven't seen them since the Crockett Cup. They were eliminated by the Briscoes in the first round, and that would be the Now. I liked that tag team, by the way. I felt like they really got the short end of the stick being having to face the Briscoes in the first round, but they really did put on a good match. And it was funny when you watch those guys, and I don't know their names off the top of my head, when you watch them in the ring with the Briscoes are a very well-oiled machine, and you can tell cardio is king with those guys. They are very much in shape, and that's not saying that the Now is not in good shape, but they were able to kind of keep up with the Briscoes, which, again, they move like lightning in the ring. So I'm excited to see the Now back in the NWA. I hope it's more than just this one-off pay-per-view. I hope this will make the second time they've been at an NWA pay-per-view. I hope this is a more permanent spot for them. What did
Jay?
Yeah.
I need you to talk for about 30 seconds, and I'll be right back.
Sure. So that DK will be back momentarily. So, yeah, what did you guys think of the Now at the Crockett Cup? I am excited to hear what you guys think about them. Again, I felt like they had a really good showing. And when you talk about, like, the Briscoe Bros, I mean, those guys, again, are such a Dodie says DKM After Dark. You have to go to DKM's OnlyFans page for that. That content is not available here on this YouTube page. James says the NWA noted in a press release that the titles are being revived due to the recent success of the company. And the level of interest in tag team wrestling seen during the recent Crockett Cup pay-per-views. Look, I'm not going to lie. Tag team wrestling is tops. When you have a good tag team storyline, a good tag team feud. Rock and Roll Express, Midnight Express, right? The Steiners and Doom, right? The Varsity Club and the Road Warriors. Hell, the Powers of the Pain and the Road Warriors. The Hart Foundation and the Rockers. The tag team wrestling, when done right, it might be the most superior form of pro wrestling. So many good tag teams over the years. And the NWA certainly did a great job with the Crockett Cup by finding some very good tag teams to have in that tournament. There were some guys that I didn't feel like they belonged, but there was a lot of guys in that tag team that were solid. I mean, look at, like I said, the Now. Of course, you put them in the ring with the Briscoes. The Briscoes are future Hall of Fame tag team champions. Future Hall of Fame tag team wrestlers, excuse me. But the Now isn't bad at all. And then you had teams like who else did they bring in? The Heat Seekers. Of course, they were a first round a wild card team, but they looked great. Sigmund and his partner looked really good. Dodie says the Now was in last month's NWA USA. They're good, and we need them more, not just one off. Especially we have 2 tag titles now. I guess I didn't. Maybe I missed the Now on the episode of USA. I don't know. I missed that. I've been watching them. Maybe I just don't remember. But the Now, I think, were a good addition to that pay-per-view. Of course, we had the boys. The Tate twins as part of it as well. They looked really good. They're the ones that were able to face the tag team champions in there. Oh, Dodie said last week. Okay, fair enough. I didn't get to watch last week's episode of USA. It's kind of why we're avoiding talking about it right now. Maybe when DK comes back, we'll talk about it a little bit. But busy week for your boy J Cal. I haven't been able to keep up with NWA USA. DKM, we're still talking about the Now, some of the other teams that we saw at the Crockett Cup. Did you have a favorite from the Crockett Cup that we haven't seen in a while?
Only the Briscoes.
Fair enough.
Really, outside of that, I don't know that there was.
Did you like the Tate twins or no?
No, and much like the Briscoes, apparently they're currently tied up in
Yeah.
the new ROH. They
6-man tags, right?
Yep, Dane Dalton Castle have regained the 6-man tags, but apparently this time they actually contributed to the match. So, look, we're talking about this, which is a perfect segue into our brief talk about USA. If you want to in-depth talk about USA, go watch the other Alliance guys.
Yeah, let's real quick before we get to that, let's just list the one last entrant into the tag team battle royal, and that would be the miserably faithful Sal the Pal and our Gags the Gimp. Honestly, this isn't the combination that I wanted to see. I thought maybe if the NWA was willing to be a little bit risque, they could have used Judeus and Max the Impaler. And I know before everyone says, hey, I don't like intergender wrestling, Max the Impaler identifies as they. So I'm all right with it. What do you think, DK? Are you good with the I see it on your face already. Are you good with either version of the Miserably Faithful in this?
I hate the Miserably Faithful totally, so I'm not good with them at all. Look, and this is where I'm going to segue with USA. One of the matches on USA was the Miserably Faithful versus the Ill Begotten. And the Miserably Faithful win. And I remember as I was forcing myself to watch the match, which I hated watching and I did not enjoy, I thought to myself, all right, all you people that wanted U.S. Tag Team Champions, this is your U.S. Tag Team division right here.
Yep.
I think this is basically what you're going to get for U.S. Tag Team thing. I don't think you're going to get top teams in there. I think you're going to get, maybe you'll occasionally get a upper mid-card team. I don't know that you'll get many former World Tag Team Champions that will come down and hold the belts, or get many U.S. champions that will go up and hold the belts, the world belts. I think this is it. I found it interesting that the first two teams they announced were teams that lost on USA.
Yeah.
Because I believe that was the now that was on USA that got beat by Scion and Jordan Clearwater.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, what are you saying about this 10-team stupidity of a battle royal when the first two teams that you announce are teams that just lost on your B show? I mean, are you putting any thought into this at all? I mean, any? I mean, they did eventually announce the Miserable Misfits, and it was like, at least they won. Why wouldn't they have been the first team you had announced? Why didn't you have the Now go over? Then it makes sense to announce them.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the matches they had on, it was a Power Surge. There was no, or USA Surge. So there was no audience. It was just the people behind the thing cheering them on. I mean, they did Bradley Pierce versus Brett Buffet, excuse me. And, in a matchup of enhancement people, why couldn't you put a couple of enhancement tag teams in there, or an enhancement team in there with the Now and give them a victory, so that people go, oh yeah, we remember they did better against the Briscoes than we thought. They won here. They could be a team we'd want to see with the championship. No, you beat them freaking clean in the middle of the ring, and then you go, guess what? They're going to be part of our U.S. Tag Team tournament.
Well, what does that say too when the next announced team is going to be, Jordan Clearwater and Black G's, or Jordan Clearwater and Marche Rocket. I mean,
is Marche even around anymore? Did he get smart?
Smart. I don't know where I don't know where Marche Rocket is. I know obviously Black Jesus is still around. Marche has kind of disappeared since after the Crockett Cup. We didn't see him at. I don't think we saw him at Always Ready, and of course, now with the focus on Scion and Jordan Clearwater teamed up for USA. But we know that Scion will be wrestling. In the not main event, but wrestling for the national championship with Jack Stane, I believe, on night 1. So, I mean, theoretically, he'd be available for night 2 in the tag team tournament if that's, if he's unsuccessful in night 1. Our pal James H. Jackson had another funny quip of the night. I'm miserably disappointed that they are in it, with the miserably faithful being invited to be a part of the United States tag team tournament.
I mean it. When I look, USA was okay for a surge. I mean,
real quick,
if you just look at the in-ring action.
Real quick, our pal Tim said that he hit up Marche on Instagram, and he said he'd be back on TV soon.
Oh, good.
I like Marche. In fact, I really like the pairing of Marche and Jordan Clearwater, and I wouldn't hate the fact of them being in that tag team battle royal either.
No, I mean, they'd be a fine team to be in that. If they had been the team that won in this one, and they against another team other than the Now.
Yeah.
And it's if you're going to put the Now in this battle royal. I mean, look, there's no commitment to tag team wrestling out of Billy. There's no commitment to tag teams out of Billy. And so even our current champions are more thrown together than, real, but there's at least a story behind it. And I don't know. I don't hate that they brought the U.S. Tag Team title back. I'm sad that they brought it back. And I'm sad because you're not going to get quality teams holding this championship. I don't think. And, like I said, I was watching the Ill Begotten in the Misfits of Misery or whatever, and just... But boy, there's two teams that you can really get behind right there, huh? Ill Begotten and miserable people. That's something that I want to chant at a wrestling match.
Our boy Dave Scooby, who you could see each and every week here on this channel as part of the other Alliance Guys podcast, brings up a great point. Have tag team wrestle tag matches. If Scion is going after the national title, why is he also in a tag match? Ah, man, Dave, Scooby, you and I see so much eye to eye on this. I hate the fact that they have a history of doing this. And the NWA specifically will put tag team matches that are nonsensical. Slice Boogie and Jack Stane, does that ring a bell to anybody? Like, why are they teaming?
I tried to forget that.
I will never let you forget that.
I try.
It's stuff like that ruins the credibility of the booking. I mean,
well, the booking has to have credibility first.
Fair enough. I mean, look, for every step forward, I feel like we take 2 steps back. And, I don't want to quote Paula Abdul here, but opposites don't necessarily attract in this situation. I want good wrestling. I want good storytelling. I know you're capable of it. I've seen it a handful of times. When you have a tag team like the OGK and a tag team like Law Rebellion, and they go all out, you're telling me that you know how to put good matches together. When you have a storyline with Jack Stane becoming a very egotistical megalomaniac who will list every single accolade on his resume when he tells you why he's the national champion. Again, I know you can create storyline with characters that make me interested or care about the brand. Let's do more of those things. Let's keep moving forward with good stuff, right? Let's not go backwards. Let's go forwards. And real quick, 2 things before we go on with the show. 2 things. First of all, Dave Scooby wants to point out that Slice Boogie is the new Santino Brothers champion, which is great. But even more importantly, our pal Kevin and his lovely wife Melody received their child over the weekend, and very excited for the 3 of them. Baby's good, mama's good, dad's good. I'm very excited for
Dad.
You know he knows where you live, right? You do know that, right?
He's in Florida.
Fair enough.
Actually, he doesn't know where I live. He only knows the state. But anyway.
Anyways, congrats to the Frazier family on their new bundle of joy.
James H. Jackson makes the point that the bookie needs actual booker, though. And, you know, I'm going to draw a comparison here with WWE. They had one of their top Raw ratings ever this last Monday. And supposedly they got a ton of views on Peacock for SummerSlam because people were wanting to see how things had changed without Vinnie Mac being at least 100% in charge. And, you know, there's excitement over the idea that a wrestler who's been through this, who likes the history of wrestling, who knows stuff, who didn't have some of the bad habits that other people had during his time wrestling with them or against them. You know, somebody that understands the psychology of wrestling is now in charge of the creative area. They just get rid of Kevin Dunn and those nauseating
camera shots,
angle shots, and zoom ins and outs and all that. You know, that increased the quality 87% just right there. But, you know, and a lot of people praised Raw. And, you know, I watched the first hour and then I watched one other match. And what I watched, I mostly enjoyed. It's WWE will always be more sports entertainment than I like. And, you know, hey, that's where their bread is buttered, and they'd be foolish to suddenly become a heavily sports ingrained wrestling show, you know. But that's how they capture the fans they capture, is out there. But, you know, I've seen better matches, better match quality, and certainly things that make more sense since Hunter's been there. And Billy and Tony Khan and everybody, you know, they play with their action figures, their live action figures. And they don't really care what anybody else thinks. And they, you know, they don't want what anybody else thinks. I mean, even people who were major AEW marks have recently been critical about some of the booking decisions made in AEW because, you know, after a while you stop forgiving the things that you used to.
Yeah.
And there's some of that going on now. And it's like, you know, wrestling needs a booker, not somebody making up stories.
Stories are fine, and I'll argue that stories enhance the entertainment of the whole aspect of pro wrestling. I do feel like you need to have a storyline to tie everything together, but the execution the story has to be good. You know, if the story is mediocre, then maybe we don't need to tell that story. And if the story doesn't elevate something or make something more important, then maybe that's a story we pass on. Like, and we'll get to the rest of the show here in a second, but it's just, man, we had been saying so many good things about this NWA program in the last few weeks, and then this wasn't even a bad show per se. It just, What are we doing? You know, what's the goal? What's the end game? I feel like a show like last week or this week's was just mediocre at best. It's just mediocre. It's just okay. And if the program is going to be just okay, then maybe they don't need to do that program. Maybe that show shouldn't have happened. Maybe they should have put more highlights from Always Ready. Give me some of those higher profile matches. Give me Chris Adonis and Jack Stain for a second time. If you're going to give me filler, give me at least good filler. Give me some actual wrestling that I care about.
Oh, that's asking for so much.
Do you want to get to Power, or do you want to finish talking about USA, or what do you want to do?
I'm basically done with USA. Like I said, watch yesterday's other Alliance guys. They go into it with more depth. And that way we don't have to suffer through it.
Well, no, I just they do a very good in-depth job of covering USA, as well as if you're trying to follow United Wrestling Network, whether it be the Memphis show or the Championship Wrestling show, they do cover that in detail as well. I do recommend checking them out because again, that content is there right here on the YouTube page or on the Twitch page, either one.
Yeah, I mean, we do cover different things, so you can watch both shows without getting a whole lot of crossover.
Luther says the problem is that Billy believes that the more a story is convoluted, the more interesting it is instead of just plain confusing. Yeah, we knew that early on when Nick Aldis we would blame it on Nick Aldis because he was the person responsible for the words that were being presented, but it was always, that's how it was booked. Dave Scooby says, figure out the end result and just find a way to get there logically that makes sense. And it sounds so easy. And I don't know how it gets so mucked up. And I said the word muck, not the other word. Don't find me eBay. Or eBay. Don't find me YouTube. Yeah, I don't know. Don't find me YouTube. Excuse me. I'm only on a couple hours of sleep, and I drove in the car all day today, so I'm tired.
Oh, nobody wants to hear your whining excuses.
Yeah, I know. Let's move on. Let's go to Power. So this segment, again, just when I talked about a show that has mediocrity, we had a great match. I don't know if it was last week or the week before, between these two, between the OGK and the La Rebellion. And then they had this event at the podium, and it was just a little watered down, and it got the point across, but not in a very entertaining way. The show opens with the OGK with Kyle Davis at the podium. Taven and Bennett are specifically there because they're basically making the decree. They want to be the first team that ever held the Ring of Honor tag titles, the IWGP heavyweight titles, and the NWA World Tag Team titles. That's their mission. That's their objective. But then they're interrupted by La Rebellion, who basically negates, that what Taven and Bennett have done. They kind of just throw them under their bus, and then the teams begin to fight. And that sounds like it would be interesting and entertaining, but it was just kind of It was mid. And then it seemed like the OGK had control of this fight, this fiasco. They had the upper hand until Damien Sace came out and blindsides both partners of the OGK with that red mist. And like I said, the segment was just decent at best. It was mediocre. We know that Matt Taven is great on the mic. We know that Mike Bennett is great on the mic. And we've seen moments where Mecha Wolf is great on the mic. Bestia usually speaks only in Spanish, so I can't tell you how good he is on the mic, but he's usually pretty impassioned. This just didn't feel very to me. So, DK, what did you think of this promo?
I mean, I thought it was all right. I thought the promo was fine.
Okay.
I thought again, keep it simple, stupid. All we needed was the promo. The other team could have come out afterwards and done their own promo. I don't know that we need the back and forth. And then the brawl was okay till Bestia comes out and sprays both of them because his mist is terrible. And I don't know. I probably would have rather just seen them brawl than, they kept the misting out of it.
Yeah.
That's
all right,
the red strap belt behind me.
Oh, we got to see your boxers too.
Ooh, good.
DK
hot.
After Dark.
DK After Dark.
Is that the tag title?
No, it's the heavyweight title.
Oh, yeah, the Texas State. Oh, that's a pretty belt.
It is. I do have the tag title somewhere. It's hiding in there right now. Oh, and by the way, in case you didn't know, on both shows they advertise this too. So
is that the FanDuel belt?
That's the FanDuel belt with the United Kingdom flag.
Oh, who was on? Oh, I forgot. I think it was Doty. I'm going to give Doty credit. If it wasn't Doty, I apologize. But he said that the best way to bring Jonah into the NWA is to have him be upset that they swapped out the plate for the UK flag from the Australian flag, and that he wants to win the title to put the Australian flag back on. And I'm all about it. I would love that. That would do it for me. The next segment was the number one contendership for the national championship. We got Rodney Mack with Aaron Stevens taking on Scion with Austin Idol. Now, again, you got to scratch your head at this, the theology of putting Stevens and Rodney Mack together. I get it if they wanted to have like a manager for Rodney Mack, that's fine. But I hate how they over the top say that Rodney Mack was looking for guidance and needed encouragement and all the other chicanery that they say. It doesn't make sense. Early on, Red Dog takes the lead in this match. He seemingly overpowers Scion. And you'll notice Idol on the outside is very verbal throughout the entire match. Stevens is almost just laconic. He says nothing. He's very he's very like non-emotional. And the match is all Rodney until Scion dodges a corner attack from the Mac, and then Scion smashes Rodney Mac's shoulder into the mat. At that point, Scion takes the opportunity. He's attacking Mac, not even really focusing on that injured shoulder, but like more like a fist to the face type attack. For a lot of forearms to the skull of Rodney Mac. It seems like Rodney's in trouble. The fans really aren't reacting to this at all, and that's the terrifying thing to me. This isn't like in Japan where it's very respectful not to like speak during the matches and to only applaud on the big spots. Like there was no reaction here, like nothing. So it's not like Scion has all this heat. Like he had nothing. Scion ends up cinching in a Cobra clutch. He doesn't hold on to it for very long. Surprisingly, Mac does gets the edge in the match again. He starts going on offense, but then goes for a sunset flip, a move I've never seen Rodney Mac go for a sunset flip before. Only for Scion to stack him up and use the extra leverage of holding onto the knee pad, which the announce team made sure you knew about multiple times to get the victory. And again, I don't ever recall seeing Rodney Mac going for a sunset flip, but they did tell the story they wanted to tell. DK, what did you think of this match?
Well, it's kind of with the crowd.
Yeah.
I mean, look, why would I get excited about this match? Rodney rarely wins. His teaming with Aaron Stevens makes no sense. Sion's been making a deal that he wants to go after the national title, so you basically know who's going to win this. I will give Scion credit here. It's obvious that he's put some work in. He's bulked up some. He's bigger than he used to be. He's definitely got some better definition than he used to have. So, I mean, he's putting in some work. He's still not that smooth in the ring, even though he's been around for a while. I mean, he's no rookie. And everything. His character sucks, but again, I guess I'll blame Billy on that as opposed to him, maybe. And
I think they both take blame.
Yeah. And So, I mean, am I excited to see Dane versus Sion for the national title? I mean, only in the sense that I'm a big Jack Dane fan and I want him to beat Sion up. I mean, just in general, I can't say that there's anything that's making me interested in that match. Dave Scooby says Rodney's shoulders weren't down. Rewatched the ending of the match. Oh, great. Now they're stealing WWE stuff. Well, actually, this would have been done first.
And supposedly Sion has been wrestling for 20 years, so take that into consideration.
Yeah, because he's not a smooth wrestler. Now, I will say this. I've only seen a few of his non-NWA matches, but I've not seen enough to make me go, he's some of these guys you go, oh, they're really good wrestlers outside of the NWA.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he's fine. He's just not smooth. So that's that match.
No Doty, no After Dark. I promise you, just a dead battery. I have a spare one. It's right here. So when it goes down, we'll have it back on quickly. I promise. It's not Billy Corgan. I don't think so. So up next we have Mae Valentine, who we see a lot of tonight, in the back with Camille and Tom.
Too much of.
Yeah, and Camille is Camille. She's very energetic. She, conspiracy Corgan stuff, still going with that. Camille's ready to work 2 times in one weekend. However, the body language and
remember when that was the norm?
Yeah. The body language and the exuberance from Tom Latimer, or the lack thereof, I think was the more telling story here. Tom says that he's ready to face whatever obstacles tossed at him, but he wasn't the same Tom Latimer. The energy wasn't there. The hostility wasn't there. He sounded defeated to me. Like I hope it's not being married, but it just sounds like there was no energy behind what Tom Latimer was saying, and it sounds like officially he's going through the motions. Did you pick up on this?
Well, I did, and I'm not sure where they're going with this storyline. Maybe they're talking to Paul Heyman. I don't know. Heyman, whatever. And so, they need a good, again, Billy likes friction. Billy likes controversy. Billy likes things that don't make sense. So, the newly married couple apparently aren't going. I mean, he's kind of like, he'll do what it takes to win his match or whatever he's saying. It's like, does he have a match? I mean, what's he even promoting?
Yeah. I also felt like maybe he didn't even believe in what he was saying.
Well, and in the real world, it's very hard to believe in what you're saying if there's nothing to be believing, because there's nothing to be saying, because you don't know what the hell you're going to be doing.
Yeah.
I mean, is he wrestling somebody? Is he, he's not getting a title match, I assume, because he's too big for a junior heavyweight. And that title's already been spoken for on at least one night. He's not wrestling his wife for the title. He might be at night. Lucky him, but, what will Luthez do? That would do it, getting married.
Hey-oh!
So,
wife, please.
So
the second Rodney Dangerfield impression in 2 weeks I've done.
Yes, one day you'll do it right.
Oh,
we have faith. So I mean,
you'll be disappointed.
But my point is, there's no title he can be challenging for, because the TV title apparently is not going to be on the line, and there's already a national title match, and he's not going after the world title, and he's not going to wrestle Matt Cardona, and or Nick Aldis, thank God, because we've already seen that enough. So I mean, just looking real world for a minute, just drop bad booking. Looking real world, what is there for him to be excited over?
No, there is nothing. I mean, if we're going to be serious about it, and what would be interesting is if him and Adonis jumped back in the tag team division and went for the U.S. tag titles. That would be
They win it.
Sure. I'm not saying they're going to, but at least that would be something unexpected. You're right. If you in the universe of the NWA, in that NWA world, in that spectrum, what is there for Tom Latimer at this pay-per-view? Because there is no feud, there is no animosity towards anybody at the moment. There is no title to be won because Tyrus is busy on night 1, and we don't know what will be night 2. But I doubt it'll be Tom Latimer versus Tyrus night 2 for the television title. And Jack Stane is spoken for. So where does he fall in line? There is no angle, there's no storyline, there's no feud, there's no rivalry, except for Nick Aldis. And again, to what you said, that's something we don't need. That's done. That's over. That should be finished. So it's like there is nothing for him. Now, if you want to throw him in that battle royal with Adonis for the tag titles, at least there's some sort of direction. But as it stands now, no, there's nothing. It's pointless.
Which, as a larger question, so let's take this out. What is there for him in general? I mean, once this pay-per-view's over, I don't see the world title being open.
No.
I suppose the national title might be. I think they glued the TV title to Tyrus. I don't think it's ever coming off him. We'll be talking in 5 years, and Tyrus will still be the champion.
Oh, God.
So, I mean, I don't know what there is for him right now. I mean,
I think there's nothing.
Would you put him in with Dane? I mean, Dane doesn't really have anybody. So would you make him and Dane a feud? Would that
Absolutely. I 100%. And I think Tom becomes the baby face in this feud, and Jax remains your heel. And I think you could get behind that. I think that would be a great program for Tom, because again, what is Tom's motivation at this point, right? He's trying to make his wife happy. What does his wife want? For him to be world champion. Well, the quickest way to get to be world champion is to be the national champion. You're the number 1 contender. So by beating Jack Stane, he becomes the number 1 contender, and now can go challenge Trevor Murdoch. Until that happens, a feud between him and Jax would at least fill that void to get him to that next level. And if he's the one that ends up beating Jack Stane, are you upset? If Tom freaking Latimer is the guy that can pin Jack Stane's shoulders to the mat, does that ruin it for you?
No, because Tom's a big guy.
Exactly. There's that's the best case scenario for Tom Latimer. Is that
it's the best case scenario for Jax if you're going to lose the title?
Right. And if right, because look, nothing will be worse if we go to this pay-per-view and freaking Scion and Austin Idol somehow out heel Jack Stane. That's going to be the shits, the drizzling shits. No one on this roster should be in Jack Stane's league, with the exception of guys like Nick Aldis, Tom Latimer, and maybe Trevor Murdoch. I wouldn't even say Matt Cardona. No, Matt Cardona shouldn't be competitive with Jack Stane. Trevor Murdoch is a big dude. That's why Trevor Murdoch gets a nod. Tom Latimer is probably the most polished athlete in the NWA. That's not his wife Camille, and of course Nick Aldis, again multi-time world champion. He gets a nod too. But anyone besides those three, I think is foolish. It's not Scion. That's for goddamn sure.
No, I mean, whatever their original plan with Scion was, they blew it. And even this father-son angle is stupid. And, let Jax and Tom settle in, let's have a good old triple match feud and go.
Yeah.
And, let's get a cohesive story out of this, something that can be told over, take 2 pay-per-views and a premier event in between.
I'm good with that. I'm on board.
Well, though I hear the next pay-per-view is supposed to be in November. So
Doty has another suggestion for Tom, and that's have him come chasing for the TV title. That maybe when the title gets vacated, and again, like they haven't mentioned that at all. Like they haven't mentioned that this is a cash in for that Lucky 7. Now, as of this show, we'll talk about that at the end. But we reached that 7th title defense, so that certainly a way to write Tyrus out of the title and to put somebody like Latimer into a favorable position. And again, we could treat Tom Latimer like a face. That really helps expand the roster a little bit, because then he could be feuding with Jordan Clearwater. He could feud with Marche Rocket. He could feud with Scion. He could feud with like half the roster. Because right now there aren't many baby faces on this roster. I think we decided it was the Pope and maybe PJ Hawks, and that's about it. And a lot of people said the Commonwealth connection, although I'm not 100% convinced they are either. But let's get to the next match. Let's get to the next segment, which is real quick. I did want to point out the NWA All Access commercials. It always rubs me the wrong way when they do these, because the thing that gets me is every single time they say plus exclusive content to fight, not seen anywhere else. And as of this moment, there's nothing exclusive to fight that's not being seen elsewhere. Nothing. The pay-per-views, okay, but even they're running those matches on YouTube now too. So they're not exclusive to fight. They just haven't aired on YouTube yet. Like, put on a show that's only going to be available on Fight. Only the people that subscribe get to see it. Then I think I'll buy into that rationale a little bit more. As of right now, I don't think there's anything really exclusive about my VIP membership to the All Access. Next up, we get May Valentine in the back with Trevor Murdoch. And again, this is one of those interviews where you're like,
are we skipping Team War?
What's that?
Are we skipping Team War?
What did I miss?
Wasn't the Miserably Faithful here?
No, that's after this one.
Oh, is it after? Okay.
Yeah, this is May Valentine with Trevor Murdoch. May Valentine breaks the news that Trevor Murdoch will be facing the Pope next week. May asks why this match is happening, and in his best, and I'm okay with this, by the way, in his best Harley Race impression, he just lets her know that that's between him and the Pope. Then she asks why he wants to face the Pope, and again, he has no answers for her. And then she says, why aren't, if you're going to wrestle the Pope next week, isn't your priority the 74th? And basically he says the same thing again, that it's it's between him and the Pope, and the match itself is I don't know. It just seems, again, this promo, this package, all of this was unnecessary and kind of dumb. What did you think about it?
I thought, why do they keep treating the Pope this way? I mean, they're giving him a second shot at the title. Neither one of them has had any real build.
Did they say it's a title? Did they say it's a title match?
I think so.
It sounded like to me they just said it was a match.
The only reason I thought it was is because he had said something about going into it and saying that, because what's important was that he was going to make it to the 74th champion. So I was under the impression that maybe it's not, but I was under the impression it was a title match. And it's just like, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. I don't think they do either. So
now, don't get me wrong. Trevor Murdoch does need to have some camera time. His delivery, his impression, his take on Harley Race has been a lot more refreshing than the old Trevor Murdoch. It's a hell of a lot better than Crybaby Murdoch, but still, just, I don't know. Give me some substance or don't give me anything. this didn't need to happen. This didn't need to take a valuable time on Power if it didn't lead to something. And just saying that there's a match next week, you could have done that with a banner, and it would have had just as much intrigue and interest as Trevor coming out there and cutting that nothing promo. So next we get the tag team war. Again, real quick, I always forget the rules for tag team war, or I feel like they're always changing the rules for tag team war. So I made sure to screenshot it this time so we would know what tag team war is. The match begins with one member from each team. Teammates wait ringside. Elimination happens via pinfall, submission, or being thrown over the top rope. Once an elimination occurs, the next team member must enter the ring immediately. The team with the final participant wins. There are no what's not included is that there's no tag outs either. It's basically like a gauntlet match with your partners sitting ringside. So that brings us to the match of the Ill-Begotten. I have the graphic here. The Ill-Begotten versus the Miserably Faithful. Again, to DKM's point, you've got heels versus heels. Shifty, shisty managers ringside. Why?
Oh, no, that's why I didn't watch it.
I did watch the match, and honestly, it wasn't bad. The wrestling wasn't bad, but the whole reason behind it, again, doesn't make sense. And then it's kind of a preview to the 10-team battle royal, but like that's not what was implied here. It starts off with Sal and Rush Freeman, who don't forget the Ill-Begotten brought out Ronaldo Freeman. That's Rush's big little brother. Sal is quick at attacking Rush, which again I kind of thought Rush was supposed to be the powerhouse of the Ill-Begotten, but not so much. They're battling back and forth. Rush Freeman does kind of get a little bit of offense in before being sent to the ropes, and Danny Deals accidentally grabs Rush's legs instead of Sal's legs because he wasn't watching what he was doing. That causes him to get that DDT that Sal Rinauro does. 1, 2, 3, Rush Freeman is eliminated. Jeremiah Plunkett jumps in. He's next. He takes control. Sal takes control early on Plunkett. These two are quite familiar with themselves. They used to team together. One thing that should be noted, too, is that Danny Deals, for a brief time, was also the manager for your pal Sal back when he was more of a babyface. So it's just kind of interesting to see that, there's that duality of man there when you have babyface Sal being managed by Danny Deals and heel Sal being managed by Father James Mitchell. Deals actually is able to distract Sal by telling him that he's too high up on the top, or to get on the higher top rope. And just that moment of confusion from Sal, maybe that's a sign of things to come. I always think, just looking back on it, Sal would have made a lot more sense in the Ill-Begotten than he ever does in the group with the Ill-Begotten. I mean, the Miserably Faithful. This allows JP to catch his win. And then JP eliminates Sal with that DDT, a very clean DDT, Arn Anderson-esque. Gags manages to get Gags manages to get control of the match by getting Jeremiah Plunkett to tap out to the Dragon Sleeper. I'm a little dyslexic there. Then Taylor comes in to eliminate Gags by a drop kick that sends Gags over the. Well, basically, Gags was placed over the top rope, and then Taylor drop kicked him off. That brings in Judeus, who chokeslams Taylor, and then connects with like the Razor's Edge powerbomb, Miserably Faithful win. That's probably the strongest Judeus has looked at in a long time, and it's also a big victory for the Miserably Faithful, who haven't been on very much of a winning streak as of late. You didn't watch the match, DKM. I think you made the right decision.
I do too. I did see the very end. I mean, look, I don't like the tag war matches or the styles, and bring it out once a year, sure. Bring it out every season, no. It's just no, stop it.
If it was part of an annual pay-per-view tradition and the winner did get some sort of prize, okay, I'll live with that. But
if this was like their War Games match,
yeah,
where you had, a team of 3 top guys against 3 other top guys, and you're doing something like that, then you could sit there and go, okay, this could be an interesting dynamic.
But they're using it on everybody.
But yeah, to use it for 2 teams that nobody cares about. I mean, I'm sorry, Saul Renaro, I've been ready for him to go since he was still a face. And, well, really, I've been ready for him to go since, what's her name was his pal? May. He and May were pals.
Royce never got over that. Ended up leaving the NWA because of it.
I guess. I don't know what he's doing today, but it's probably smarter.
New Japan strong.
See? Told you. And it was the same match we had on USA, except for what's his name was in it.
Yeah.
JS. And again, bad planning, bad scheduling, bad everything by the NWA powers that be when they're putting these stupid shows together. Yeah, I don't see how the same group that puts out pay-per-views I enjoy put out these shows. I just don't.
Doty points out that we see Ill Begotten on USA and Power, then we see Miserably in Power and USA. Does Billy miserably think they're miserably a big deal? And or are this Ill Miserably shenanigans is a feud that started because the Ill Begotten kicked out somebody at the Crockett Cup back in the day? I don't know what you're insinuating, sir.
I think it's just these kind of like with what's his name? Tony Khan or Vince McMahon, Billy puts in the people that he likes, and it's kind of regardless of whether other people like them or not.
Yep. So let's go to the next segment, which is our the long-awaited return of Heart to Heart with May Valentine. And what the hell is going on here? It's not Heart to Heart with May Valentine. It's Heart to Heart with May Valentine and Aaron Stevens, and I think his name was like something Rocks. And they're all sitting there ready to interview a well-dressed Colby Carino. And May Valentine asked the question that, hey, Colby, your dad was a famous, legendary NWA World Champion. Was he nice? And Colby starts thinking about it and starts giving an answer. Says, wait, what does it matter if he was nice? And then May starts asking some other questions. And then Colby points out the obvious. Why is Stevens even out there? And then Stevens and May are both gloating over how great Tyrus is. This is just a clusterfuck. Sorry, guys. Rough language. I apologize. But what the fuck am I watching? Like, I used to like these heart-to-heart videos because although they were a little weird, at least there was a point of putting somebody over. This did nothing to put Colby over. It did nothing to put Tyrus over. It did nothing to put Aaron Stevens over or May Valentine. It was just a waste of about 10 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever it was. It was too long.
It could have been 3, but however long it was, my life went, drained about 3 years. I mean, this was pathetic. I don't know. I mean, Billy's getting me not to like May Valentine anymore.
Yeah. I liked May Valentine up until like 2 weeks ago.
But and this is where I was talking, I think Billy's thinking if he gets other people telling us how great Tyrus is, then, we'll all come around to understand how great Tyrus is.
No.
Or something.
No.
I don't know. It doesn't make sense. There's no logic involved. None whatsoever. All of a sudden, May Valentine's in love with Aaron Stevens.
And Tyrus.
And she's in love with Tyrus. And Aaron Stevens is out there with Rodney Mack, who's a face, but he's not a face. And then he's there with that young guy training that he doesn't really care.
Remember, that kid got beat up by Tyrus. Remember, Tyrus just showed up and beat the crap out of that kid.
Yeah.
But they're
And
gloating
Mom
over how
cared
great,
that Aaron Stevens didn't.
how
And
great and benevolent that Lord Tyrus is, the conqueror of buffets. Like, come on, quit shoving this shit down my throat. This is the stuff that I've been talking about.
it's just like, yeah.
In my notes, I literally wrote, segment was fucking stupid.
I mean, that's being nice. It really is, because stupid would almost imply lack of malice, and I almost think there was intentional malice.
Yeah.
You know, what would Luthez do? Point out, Billy was been very doesn't give an F what we think, and I think this is one of those things. This was basically him giving us a finger.
Yeah.
And, again, I don't necessarily mean us specifically, although it wouldn't surprise me. But I think just in general, anyone who disagrees with him, disagrees with how he books, disagrees and doesn't recognize that he's been the best thing in the NWA since sliced bread, since Jim Crockett Promotions, or more accurately, World Championship Wrestling.
Yeah.
Left it, that absolutely nothing happened during this time that had any type of legitimacy. Not TNA, his former place that he invested in, not the Adam Pearce run or anything like that. No, there was not Tharp's regime getting him in New Japan, for about a year. What? Billy, get a hold of your ego, get a hold of yourself, start listening to other people, and, stop being an ass. Because although I enjoy this podcast, I certainly don't have to do it. As I pointed out, I got enough of my life going on.
Sure.
And I'm looking to cut costs. I've cut several subscriptions I've had and streaming services and everything like that.
Cutting HBO Max soon.
Yeah. And so, ain't that the truth? Actually, I don't pay for HBO Max. So I get that through my AT&T phone deal.
Yeah.
But, I mean, look, people, his attitude is becoming a bigger reason not to watch the show than.
Well, okay, off subject, but on subject. I just saw a clip of a video, and he's talking about how he's rebuilding the NWA. And, he fancies himself some sort of messiah of pro wrestling, I guess. And that his bringing back the NWA is some historical, major feat. Let's not again get into the whole fact that Rob Conway was defending the 10 pounds of gold at Wrestle Kingdom 3. Let's just let that go. Let's forget about the fact that 7 Levels of Hate took the World's Heavyweight Championship on a feud all over the United States and in Australia. We'll let that go. Let's not forget that David Marquez was running the smaller arenas all throughout the Southwest. Let's forget that Bill Behrens was doing smaller arena shows in the Midwest region. Or let's not even talk about NWA Anarchy, NWA Wildside. That was literally on TV and syndicated throughout the country for for at least a decade. No, Billy Corgan is the savior of the NWA. He's rebuilding studio wrestling. I'm sorry, Dave Marquez was doing studio wrestling back in 2006. Sorry, bud, you're too late to the punch on that one. It just, everything that this guy says is starting to grind on me. It's like, stop overinflating what you're doing. You haven't saved pro wrestling. The NWA, yes, is in a better position right at this moment, but it's not better than what it was. It's the same or worse.
No, and he's about a sports entertainment as it comes as well. I mean, he's not putting out a lot of top quality wrestling except for on, like I said, the pay-per-views are normally well booked, well wrestled, and well done.
Yep.
You don't count night one or Crockett Cup, but outside of that,
yeah,
outside of that, they're pretty good. But his shows and his booking in general just make no sense, and it's not good.
James, I do thank you for being here each and every week, man. I do appreciate that. Thank you for watching the show to keep up with us. That's awesome. I think I actually bought the last New Japan Strong 4-pack that was on Fight Out. I'll be checking that out soon too. Not that I'm gonna stop watching Power, but I would like to see what a good wrestling show looks like. Next up, then we get another May Valentine segment right after the last one, and she's with Homicide and Caprice. And again, like, Homicide seems like such a nice guy, and he's very proud to be a world junior heavyweight champion, and you could tell that that's something that means a lot to him. But stop letting him cut promos. Stop.
Or have him start cutting promos.
I don't think he's capable of it, and I'm not saying that to be disrespectful. I just don't think that he has it in him. That's not him. I don't remember ever hearing Homicide cut a promo, ever. And I don't know why the NWA keeps trying to put him in that position. Give him a manager. If not Conan, bring in somebody that could do a good job managing Homicide. And then we get...
do they have any good managers?
Not currently. I mean, not like, look, I think Father James Mitchell would be a good manager. I think if he focused only on managing Max the Impaler, I think that'd be a perfect combination. I think Danny
using that damn voice he uses.
Yeah, even with that, I'm fine with that. I think Danny Deals could be used in a better way, but as of right now, he's just kind of more of an annoyance. And I think the best manager that they have, right? The best manager they have is Taryn Terrell by far.
Who's always arguing with her client now. Well, she's hot.
She has assets.
She does.
Okay, so and then Caprice Coleman's right there with Homicide, and he does his whole shtick. Caprice is good on the mic. That's a guy I don't mind listening to cut promos. And he just basically says to Homicide when he's done putting himself over is, hey, when you're done playing with the boys, how about giving a man a shot? Which I thought was a pretty forward thing to say. And hopefully, with everything with Ring of Honor, it doesn't impact Caprice Coleman's opportunities to wrestle in the NWA. Maybe we could see that match down the road. I certainly would enjoy to see that one. And that's the only thing I cared about out of that promo.
You basically got it.
Up next is the main event of the night, the TV title match. Finally, May can stop disrespecting our guy Odinson. Finally, we can stop hearing about Tyrus. We get the match, and Odinson comes in hot. He comes in with a fury of Asgardian uppercuts. Pretty cool. I listened to the other Alliance guys, and they kind of said, well, why is that the only thing he did? And I sat there and I was marinating on that. And when you look at the size comparison between Tyrus and Odinson, I mean, it's obvious why that's all he does, because he's not going to be able to throw Tyrus around the ring like he does PJ Hawk or Luke Hawk. He's a big guy. He's very strong. He's very muscular, but Tyrus is like a damn whale. And I'm not trying to be mean to Tyrus, but he's huge. He's big all over. And you're not going to be able to toss him around the same way you could a guy who's 220 pounds, 250 pounds. The guy's close to 400. Maybe he's even more than that. And it's just not going to happen. So throwing those Asgardian uppercuts, all across the ring, I think was the best point of attack, the best way to show that he had offense. Because it's not like he's going to suplex him. It's not like he's going to, power slam him. These are things that aren't going to happen in this match. Tyrus came to work. He had his work boots on. He that one of the cool things about that time limit is it does highlight Tyrus's ability to have short spurts, so he can go out there and have a decent match. Which this is what I felt like that was a decent match. It's not a match of the year candidate by any stretch. I don't think it's
as good as it could be.
Yeah, I don't think it's a main event anywhere. But he did like the suplex on Odinson. He took the bump. You know, it was, and just like DK said, it was as good as it was gonna be. It was in the world of Tyrus. That was your 5-star Tyrus match. The match ends with a Tyrus heart punch. He retains. That's seven victories now. If the NWA chooses to at 74th anniversary show, he could cash that in. That could be the reason why he's in the match. He's going to cash it in, or it could be he hangs on to the title because Billy just promised it to him anyways. I don't know how they're going to go with it. What do you think of this match, DK? What do you think of the potential that the seven thing, Lucky 7?
Well, did they even mention that during the match? That this was the Lucky 7?
No, they didn't mention that at all.
Yeah, I didn't think so. And so I think it's almost meaningless here. Look, it was as good of a match as you're going to get out of Tyrus and Odinson. I understand the question, why was that all he did? Is because Odinson's used to being, you know, the big, strong guy in the ring. And let's be honest, he looked very small next to Tyrus.
Very.
Although he's athletic and jumps and whatever, he's not going to be he's not a technical wrestler. He's not a speed guy. He's not going to, you know, knock him down and work a leg or work an arm or, you know, something like that. So whatever one power move he got that worked, he just kept doing it until he hurt his shoulder doing it. And then got hit with the, you know, longest waiting heart punch ever known to mankind. And the match was over. They didn't even let it go to a draw for poor Odinson. So, I mean, the thing here, obviously from the segment with May and this and everything like that, is to tell us what a great person Tyrus is. And this is where, again, I don't know if it's their TV taping and what they know or what they don't know. I mean, they're not putting over the fact that this is his 7th title win. They can't put over the fact it's his 7th title win. It means anything because they're not talking about him being in the match. They basically have stopped talking about the main event for the 74th because it's supposed to be Aldis.
Yeah.
I mean, they have not mentioned one thing about it since Aldis became the number 1 contender and Billy stripped him. It doesn't play a part in the show.
Which leads me to...
Although the show looks like it knew something was going to happen.
Yeah.
Maybe they just didn't know what was going to happen at that time or how they were going to do it or how they were going to put Tyrus in the place. But it's like they're half building Tyrus, half ignoring Aldis. And maybe they've edited stuff. I doubt it because they can't seem to edit things they need to edit.
Yeah.
But maybe maybe it's a want versus need. If they want to, then they'll go in and edit it. It's not hard these days. They can re-record things. You can do it on your phone. You can do it on a computer and just email it in. And the whole thing is just, God, they need a real producer. I mean,
yeah.
Sorry to the guys back there that hold the title, but I think some of you may be producing matches, and that's fine, but the production of the show is honestly not that good.
No, and it's fallen off a lot since Dave Marquez is gone, and since Dave Lagana has gone. Keep in mind, Dave Marquez.
And they went together,
huh?
And they left together, basically speaking.
Yeah, and Dave Marquez. Like, look, Dave Marquez didn't direct the show, right? He wasn't there directing it, but I was there live and watching him, kind of talk to the talent and tell people, like, no, you have to do this or you have to do that before they filmed it. And I don't want to disrespect Joe Galley. I don't want to disrespect Kyle Davis. I like both those guys. In fact, I like a lot of the people that work on that show. But no, you're doing it. Something's not right if you guys don't have the opportunity to clean up these flubs. You're producing all this content so far in advance, and then one thing changes, and you guys can't address it on TV because it's not been filmed, it's not been spoken about. So now everything just feels weird. So change your taping schedule. Get someone in there that is better at producing. Get someone in there that's, I don't think it's the directing so much as just maybe the producing, or maybe I don't know. Maybe it is the directing. Maybe it's just Billy. I don't know.
Well, it's post-production in that. Well, we said on the interviews in the back, there's nobody there saying, stop, do it again. Or there's somebody there saying, stop, do it again. I don't want to know how bad things are the first time. But it comes across very, here, you talk for 60 seconds, or you do this, and nobody sits there and looks at this for quality control and goes, wow, that sucked. Stop, do it again.
And I've said this before on the show. I'm not breaking any barriers here. I was backstage back in the Percy Pringle III era of the Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, and when it was still very much a part of the NWA. And there was a wrestler cutting a promo, and Adam Pearce stopped that promo while they're filming, and it was like the second attempt, and said, whoa, 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 whoa. You sound like a bitch crying instead of a baby face. I don't want to cheer for you. I'm glad those guys are beating you up. And it was just like, whoa, you Pierce, you just totally incorporated what we were all thinking and made it very blunt, but said exactly what we were thinking. And so they talked for a second there, and then he cut the promo again, and it was fire. It was so much better, very much of a something a baby face that you can get behind. And if you were ever in Hollywood, even after Adam Pearce left, they've had different guys. Nick Bonanno, who's the head referee now, he's working for NXT. You had Stu Stone, who works in Hollywood making movies and stuff, helping to produce these promos. You had guys there that were grooming these people on what to say and having them focus down. And if it sucked, start over. One of your favorites, Denise Salcido, who I think is married now, and it's not her last name anymore. She was interviewing Tim Storm, and she flubbed up, and you know what they did? Restarted. And then he flubbed up, and you know what they did? They restarted. And they got the best package that they could out of both of them. And that's what they needed to do, because you're presenting somebody as your world champion or somebody who's important to the program. You can't go out there and have them speaking gibberish. You can't have them go out there and get lost in what they're saying or say something that they don't genuinely believe. Because
that's our job.
Huh?
That's our job.
Yeah. Well, we're not professionals.
Right.
I mean,
well, I am.
Sure. But I just think if you took a different approach, because obviously the one that they're taking, I don't think is working the way that Billy would like it to. So, anyways.
Yeah, they're definitely not. Well, I don't know if it's working the way Billy wants it to or not, because it's
not working the way I want it to.
But I don't think it's working the way a professionally run show does. And I think that's the key. And we talked about this. He says he's trying to sell this on to TV networks. Well, I hope you're not showing him these shows. Because if you're showing them these shows, they're going to go, what the hell? You can't even produce a decent show as it is. Yeah, people that don't know what they're saying, who are flubbing, who are flubbing lines that it makes no sense what they're doing. You don't even have to be a fan of pro wrestling to watch that interview with Mae Valentine and Aaron Stevens and JC Rocks or Rocks JC or Rock Me Baby or whoever.
Rock Me Amadeus.
Yeah, right, exactly. In Colby, I mean, I've never felt bad for Colby Carino before in my entire life until that thing. And I'm watching that going, God, he doesn't deserve this.
Kevin would be saying, hey, that's not the right way to treat Colby Carino.
I mean, he didn't even deserve it. And it wasn't, hey, let's have a heart-to-heart with Colby Carino. It was like, let's get Tyrus over moment. And it's like, you're not going to get him over. You don't get him over by talking about him and not changing how things are.
Yeah. Agreed. Of course, the show ended with a bonus match. I thought it was a really good idea to do that because it certainly took some of the bad taste out of my mouth. But of course, it was from the pay-per-view. It's from Always Ready. Natalia Markova versus Taya Valkyrie, which was a great match. If you didn't see it from the pay-per-view, certainly sit through the end credits to watch it. It's a good match. It's a fun match. This was, I think, that was the best use of time that they had all pay-per-view because it shows you how badass Taya Valkyrie is and why she's the number one contender for the women's championship. It also showed that Natalia Markova, even though she's good, she's not Taya Valkyrie, which again, I think just puts over why Taya is the right choice. And speaking of Taya Valkyrie and speaking of the right choice, our audience, when polled, and I'm going to end the poll now, went back and forth all night. But after 13 votes, we had 61% of the people say that Camille will be the world's heavyweight champion, and 38% said Taya. So that, I mean, it's not 50-50, but it's not overwhelmingly support for Camille, which kind of surprised me. Are you surprised by those results, DK?
I'm surprised as many people think that Taya may win because I just don't see that happening.
I don't think
it's like ask me two different poll questions and I'll give you two different answers. Who do I want to win and who do I think is going to win? And I tell you, I probably want Taya to win. I'm becoming an increasingly big fan of hers. But I'm also going to tell you that, especially with it being a second night, that if Camille's going to lose, they're going to protect her in a way that, she gets injured the first night and has to defend in the second, or something just goes flippy-floppy in the thing. I remember both women are going to have to compete the night before, so it's not just like, Camille's going to be the only one driving the match. In fact, the cup winner or Burke winner or whatever she is, she could very easily be more beat up at the end of her match than Camille is. And I'd have to see, who they put in there to see who I think would have a good chance of winning.
Right. And just an FYI, but as we're starting to close down the show, it looks like in next week's or Saturday morning's USA, looks like you're going to see the junior heavyweight championship match between PJ Hawks and Homicide. Looks like our boy Jack Stain will be in attendance, plus Jamie Stanley. What's the Boucher supposed to be there? It looks like the Thrillbilly and Poyo Del Mar should be there, and Magic Jake and CJ should be part of that show. So make sure you set your DVRs or at least get up at 12 to watch it on YouTube to check out this week's Saturday USA. Is there anything else you want to bring up before we wrap this puppy up?
I am good.
All right. Well, then, Parker Curie, I have no idea who Lily Rubel is, but Google is your friend. Thanks for checking it out. Thank you to everyone who has joined us in the live stream tonight, including the bot telling you to check out the dating site. I don't recommend it, and let's just do that. All right, guys, so that's going to do it for us. DK, if they want to follow you on the socials, how do they do that?
At DKMFWTX. At DKMFWTX. Thank you.
And, of course, you guys know how to follow us here at the Alliance blog. We'll be here next week on Tuesday for the pre-party. We'll also have the other Alliance guys on Wednesday, and we'll be back here next Thursday. Thank you for checking us out. Enjoy your gravy cake. No, that's another show. We'll see you at the matches. Thanks for checking out the pre-party, a presentation. Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at the Alliance blog. And until next time,